Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to episode 23 of the Deu Awuok Show, where it is my job to interview professional and collegiate soccer players about their life journeys around the beautiful game. On this episode, I speak with Troy Brady, a former soccer player at Canisius University. Amongst other things, we talk about his experience growing up in Grand Island, playing club soccer with Empire, where he played at the state and the regional level, his high school experience, where he won the Western New York Player of the Year, his college experience, as well as winning MAAC All-Conference teams and making history for the Canisius team. I really enjoyed this conversation with a former teammate and friend, and I hope you do too. Troy, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Deu. Appreciate you having me on. I'm excited. I've watched a few episodes, so watched a few old teammates on the show, so I'm happy to be on here.
Nice, nice. I'm excited for it. Excited to catch up and excited to tell your story. Let's start with some introductions, right? So tell us your full name, where you're from, and an interesting fact about you.
Um, yeah, so I'm Troy Brady. I'm from Grand Island, New York. So born and raised in Buffalo. A fun fact about me, that's a tough one. I'm surprisingly good at pickleball.
Nice. Where did you pick that up?
I picked up pickleball. I've actually so when I was playing down south in the USL when I was in college, when we'd have some free time, we started playing pickleball, and then that's when I really first started playing. Um, and then after that, I kind of took a break, and now I'm starting to play again. So it's good.
Nice. I
Yeah.
started like when I was in New York, a lot of my friends would play it. Obviously, that's when it came really hot and it was like the number one trending sport. But I just always like, I don't feel like it. And then when I came to Boston, my firm had like an outing and all the
Yeah.
associates played it. And I really enjoyed it. So I got played again a few months ago. It's quite fun, easy to pick up, and it keeps you active.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I love it.
I guess back to soccer. When did you start playing soccer, and who got you involved with the sport?
Yeah, I mean, dates all the way back to when I was a little kid, like 7 years old. In Grand Island, the local town that I'm from, they offer, just a youth program throughout Grand Island for all the players that want to play, more so like a house league.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously, my mom put me into it. So at that point, she kind of threw me into all the sports, like football, soccer, baseball. And then really along the way in the early stages, it was just, I started to love the game because how active I was during it, running around, scoring goals. That's what made it fun and exciting. Um, and the few coaches like Ron Figler was the director of the Timbits program when I was a little kid. And I remember him just making the sessions so fun and made you want to always come back. And I think that was a big part of the start of my playing when I was like 7, 8 years old.
Nice. That's incredible. And I think to your point, at that age, it's all about fun, right? And if the kid is having fun, they'll want to keep coming, keep playing, and eventually they get better. I think sometimes coach can maybe get carried away and lose the importance of that, and then kids would maybe get tired and get discouraged right away. But I'm happy you had a great coach early on that kind of help you develop, but also keep you engaged and in love with the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always looking back on those memories is good.
Nice. So talk to us about your club career, right? You started at that level around 7. When did you start playing for Empire? I think it was the Buffalo chapter. When did you get involved with them, and how was your experience playing with them?
Yeah, so I started out well, first I started playing Grand Island Travel, just in the
Hmm.
travel league, and I was doing pretty well in that, was kind of excelling a little bit faster than a few of the other guys in my age group. So that's when I looked into, other premier clubs around the area. And at the time it was Buffalo United Soccer Club, which had then transitioned to Empire.
Yep.
So I started out with Buffalo United, I want to say, when I was 10 or 11, 12-ish or even before that, 10, 11, and was doing well. I was playing up an age group, with like Hunter and Alex and all those guys. And then there was an age difference or something that changed in the birthdays. So I went sent down, and that's when the club transitioned to Empire.
Mhm.
And yeah, I played Empire all the way through. high school. I think beginning in middle school all the way through high school. Um, played with some really good players in the Buffalo chapter that, probably could have played on that academy team.
Yep.
Um, like for myself, I had the opportunity to play academy a few different times.
Yep.
But I chose to, there's a few different factors why I chose to stay playing at the club level, financial reasons, as well as just my passion for high school soccer at the time. I played with such a good group of guys in my high school team, and we had a really good team and had an opportunity to really go and chase the state championship. So that was another reason why I chose to stay in that Buffalo chapter, and it honestly worked out because our Empire team for the Buffalo area was super good. We battled for state cups every year. We went to regionals a few times, battled in all the top showcases across the nation. The East Coast area, um, and yeah, so I think it was a great experience playing with Empire. And they have a great group of coaches over there. I don't know if the club is still around, but yeah, it was good growing up and playing for them.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I had a similar thought process. I think I found out about the academy like my senior, junior year in high school. And at that point, it was like, obviously, you miss soccer, right? You miss high school soccer.
Mhm.
And I was like, I think a lot of people go play the academy, right? Because they want to go play college soccer and hopefully at the top level, right? Division 1 college
Yeah,
soccer. That's like usually why you make that sacrifice to give up high school soccer. Because generally speaking, like high school soccer tends to be, I get in my opinion, it's a lot more fun.
yeah,
You play with your friends, right? School comes out, you support you. Where it's academy, it's a bit more professional. You're traveling all the time, and obviously more competitive. You develop better. I guess did you think about the impact that would have about your chances of going to play at the next level as you made that decision to like stick with the club and not go academy?
yeah. I mean, looking back, you're always like what ifs, and looking back on it, I don't like to think of what ifs, but
Yeah,
I think it was a major impact on my exposure to, like the bigger Power Five conference schools, stuff like
yeah,
that. At the time, it's like I wanted that fun, and I wanted to enjoy the game, playing with my local friends and high school soccer, and while also playing club level that was busy. But I
yeah.
think I don't know if I was fully. I knew I wanted to play college soccer too. I
Hmm.
just didn't know which level. I thought I was good enough to play Division 1, but I was looking at a lot of Division 3, a lot of Division 2 schools. But I
Yeah,
had a few Division 1 offers that were coming in. But I do think that if I would have chose to play academy, it would have had a bigger impact and maybe exposed me to some bigger schools.
yeah.
Um, but at the time I chose to play high school soccer and chose to play club and in the Buffalo area, and yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, if you had a good club team, which you did, I remember we played you guys in the state cup.
yeah,
You had a pretty good team, and you felt you could develop there, still enjoy your high school soccer, as well as being able to like have the opportunity to go play at the D1. Maybe not the same exposure. I can see why it can be quite tricky at the time, and as somebody that's navigating that on your own, maybe not having people who've gone through that process and maybe give you advice and different insight about what the different opportunities come from playing
yeah,
or academy. Speaking of high school soccer, right? You decided against the academy just so you can stay and play high school soccer, which worked out quite well for you, right? An incredible high school
mhm,
in which you finished it with, being named the Niagara and Western New York Player of the Year, in which you scored, I believe, 27 goals and 15 assists, which is quite
yeah, yeah.
crazy, quite crazy stats there. I guess reflect on that season. Talk to us about what that meant for you to win those awards and for your team to do well.
Yeah, I mean, senior year was super special. And I think the biggest thing was the group of guys that we had, and also Coach Frank Butcher. He was a great coach and just a great mentor for our team, and built a good culture within our team. And I think just the bond between, like us seniors, like as I, as a leader on the team, I tried to, because part of high school, is fun. High school soccer is having fun, but like if you can make it competitive and you want to compete for, state championships, the winning the league every year, creating a powerhouse team, which Grand Island, at least when I was playing, always was competing for with the top teams in the area. I think, but it all started with the bond that the team had. We were always all so close. We did a bunch of things on the weekends together. Just kept a close knit group, which obviously transitioned to the field. Like we knew where we were going to be on the field at the time, at the right time. Playing with certain players, you just know their tendencies, just because you get to know them better on and off the field. And for me, yeah, going into my senior season, Western New York Player of the Year was my goal. And I was battling out a few guys for it. Few guys for it. I knew that I needed to score a ton of goals and
Yeah,
I to record a bunch of assists because um, it's a really the reward is as much as you don't want it to be. It is based on statistics.
yeah,
But I think that my play spoke louder than just my statistics as a
yeah,
leader on the team and just my play off the ball and just everything else. But it was awesome. I think that was like up until college. That was the best moment of my life. In my
yeah,
career and obviously I couldn't have done it without, the guys around me on the team. But we went to states that year and it was the first time in Grand Island history that we made it past the Far West Regional,
wow,
which was, yeah, another great accomplishment. And I should say that was definitely another goal, going into the season because the year before we had lost in the regional. And then we were bringing back a lot of guys, had a lot of the same teams. So we were like, all right, this year, let's get past that Far West Regional game and we ended up scoring in overtime. We beat Honey Eye Falls, Lima, I think they're
yeah,
called, and that was one of the best moments. And then we went to states. We ended up losing to the team that won the state finals. We lost 3-2. It was one of those crazy high scoring games.
yeah.
But I don't regret anything about playing that season. It was such a fun season with the group of guys that we had, and accomplished a lot as a team and individually. So, yeah.
That's amazing, man. Congrats on all your hard work paying off, both at the individual level and as well as the team, making history. At that point, had you already committed to play D1 college soccer? Like, when did you realize you could play D1 soccer? And what did that recruiting process look like for you?
Yeah. So at that point, I actually wasn't committed anywhere. I was in I was almost verbally committed to play at Division 3 school Oneonta,
Mm,
the good powerhouse school in the SUNYX. And then I had a few. Well, before then, I had a few Division 1 schools sniffing around. Nothing too serious. And then I knew the local schools were coming to watch me play because obviously, I think I was one of the better players in the area. So I think
yeah,
just the nature of it, the local D1 schools will come and check you out. And at that point, Canisius had started reaching out to me, Dermot McGrain, Regan Steele. At the time, Gavin Falconer was the head assistant, and he came to a few of my games, in high school, and we just started talking then. And at that point, there was no, nothing set in stone. And then
mm,
after the high school season, we get into club. It seemed like they wanted to see a little bit more of me, with different
yeah,
competition on a different team. So at that point, I think they'd watch me a little bit in my Empire games. The process was taking too long for me,
yeah,
like I'm the type of person that want, things set in stone. I don't want to worry about it. Like, as a senior, you don't want to be worrying about where you're going to play or where you're going to school late on in the spring. So I
yeah,
wanted to get things done, I don't know. It might have hurt me. It might have helped me. I don't know. But yeah, so they came and watched me a ton in Empire. And then, it finally, I basically put a little pressure on them because I was ready to commit to go play at Oneonta. They had a great
yeah,
program at the time. They were battling for Division 3 national championships every year.
yeah,
Um, and then finally, Dermot had brought me on for a visit. I met the group of guys on the team. He told me the plans for me, within the squad. I was coming into a really older team.
yeah,
Um, but it was good to know because they had already an established, like, program, and their plan was to battle for MAC championships when I was coming in, and which
Yeah.
was something that I wanted to do, and because at that point I was looking to probably pursue a professional career after that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think it was, February time where he had offered me to commit. And at that point, I committed like right in late winter time.
When obviously adding that pressure, negotiating tactics, did you tell him, like, I'm thinking of going and committing D3, or like, what was that discussion like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did have others, like Binghamton, UB was sniffing around.
Yeah.
Binghamton was a big one. That and I was, I'd mentioned that, the Division 1 schools, I wouldn't
Yeah.
really mention, I told them, I mean, I mentioned the D3 schools, but I think I'd
Yeah.
emphasize, I went on an overnight at Binghamton, I stayed at the
Yeah.
overnight, I played at the camp, the coach really liked me.
Right.
Um, but so I told him that, and I think that it built on a little additional pressure. And I think Dermot
Yeah.
was stalling the process, um, and he wanted me to come to the ID clinic in the spring. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to commit somewhere,
Yeah. You like
and
me now, or I'll go somewhere else.
exactly. Yeah, it was. I wasn't trying to wait around. Because I
Yeah.
knew, because I believed in myself too. I wanted to
Yeah.
go somewhere that I was wanted, and
Yeah.
the coaches that I had spoke to, seemed like they really liked me and had a plan for me coming in freshman year. So, yeah, I wanted to make that commitment sooner rather than later.
If you had to give like one or two advice for those at the high school level looking to go play at the college level, whether that's D2, D3, D1, what would you what would you tell them? What advice would you give them as they like look to prepare and navigate that tricky process?
I think one thing I should have done and I could have done better was just simply reach out to coaches. I didn't create a highlight tape in high school. Didn't have a highlight tape at all, which I know it's looking back on it is crazy. Especially now as a coach, I watch
Yeah.
10 to 15 highlight videos a day of high school or potential college players.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't really have a highlight video. So I think that step one is make a highlight video of your game, and then just sending them out to, obviously where you're looking, if you're, looking to study business and you're looking at schools with better business to schools, look at those first and really send out your video, express your interest because, as much as college coaches get tons of emails every day of players, trust me, they do look at them and they will watch your video because they don't want to let someone slip by, So I think just reaching out to as many schools as possible, at any level, and yeah, make that highlight tape.
I would 100% agree. I made that, I think, from the seasons like my freshman to sophomore junior year. And so I was able to send that out. And a lot of times, obviously, you reach out to the coach, you want them to come watch you. But if they just have stats and they don't only have video, it's kind of hard for them to just pick everything up and come see you, right? And so, like, if you give them that highlight tape, give them a little teaser of what you're about, they're more willing to like commit the time and come watch you. So I would definitely
Exactly.
second that and do that freshman, sophomore, and junior season, and then go into your senior season. Just send that out. Tell them a little bit more about yourself, why you like that program, and then hopefully, if they like what they see, they'll come watch you your senior year, or maybe even earlier if you have other film as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the first step, and then, like you said, they'll if they're interested, they will find a way to come and watch you. Introduce themselves. So yeah, that's some great advice.
Adjusting college soccer can be quite tricky, right? Speaking from personal experience, what would you say your adjustment to the D1 level like? Because like you're going into an environment where now you're the youngest, the smallest usually, um, and the pace of the game has improved tremendously. The
Mhm.
physicality of the game, right? The college level is so physical, more physical than technical. How do you adjust as a freshman, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, funny quick story leading into this. So yeah, I was the younger bunch of my age, so I was the 98 coming in. So I was 17 coming into college, and Canisius at the time had a bunch of foreign German guys that were older, and there's literally second practice of preseason, we're doing one-on-ones to goal and or 2v2s to goal, and I'm like 150, 55 pounds, like small 17-year-old freshman running at the goal. Thomas Toypin just absolutely just demolishes me, basically like 2 foot through my ankles, and he's just like, welcome to college. And I'm like, oh Jesus. So so but yeah, going into what you're saying, I think for me, my pace helped. Having that speed definitely helped me get out of situations where, I may not be able to if I didn't have the pace. But um the physicality standpoint, it's so much more physical, especially at the Division 1 level. You come in and it's a wake up call. So, it's about just picking and choosing your battles. In trainings and in games. Until you will get at that level. You will get in the gym. They will have programs where that to work on strength and muscle and everything else. Um, but and also just don't shy away from it. I never shied away from, battling with teammates, if they're older than me, if they're bigger than me, so but I think the pace of play, the speed of play at which you play, and the physicality were the biggest adjustments. And like I said, my pace helped, and then speed of play was just you just need to adjust on your own. You need to recognize it in here and see where watch your teammates. Like I'd always watch the older forwards what they would do and kind of try to learn off their tendencies and kind of make
Mhm.
it and adjust it in my own way. But the speed of play is big. First touch is key. Having a good first touch can set you up for to get you out of certain situations and help you with your speed of play. So yeah, I think the two big ones are the speed of play and the physicality, and it's just it's you kind of just got to learn it on the fly and don't shy away from it. Everyone makes mistakes and just keep going.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think for me, my biggest adjustment was the speed of play, right?
Hmm.
And in conjunction with that, right, your first touch, because if you have a good first touch, the speed of play improves, right? And I was used to like at the high school and the club level, you get the ball, like you have like a few seconds before the guy's next to you. So you get the ball, you get your head up, you decide you want to take him on, you want to pass, and you're
Yeah,
chilling. At the college level, the minute the ball gets to you, there's somebody there, right? And if the
yeah,
touch is bad, you're getting crushed, right? And so I struggle to adjust there. And I think, if you can be 2 3 steps ahead, right? Like before the ball gets to you, what am I gonna do with this ball? Right? Am I gonna take a touch? Am I gonna pass it? That helps a lot because you can decide once the ball gets to you because the defender will be there, right? And they'll be
yeah,
aggressive. And if
exactly.
and that makes it harder to adjust. And that's something I struggle with. It looked like you adjusted well, right? Because your second year at Canisius, you led the team as you score 9 goals and led the team
Mhm.
to a 12-4-4 record, right? Having an incredible season for both you and the team, right? In which you were named to the conference first team. Talk to us about that season and what it was like to be able to have such a successful season, both on the divisional level and at the team level. And what do you think helped?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know if you like my freshman year, tore my ACL 6 games into the season, freshman year, and I knew that I had an impact freshman year, and I knew that I was good enough to play at this level. So like now the self belief starts to come in, and after that injury, I was like, I'm gonna come back stronger than ever. So I had a little bit of something to prove sophomore year,
Mm,
because I'd
yeah,
missed more than half the season freshman year. So I came in, I recovered well. And then I played in the summer a bit. It was my first few games back from injury, and then I knew that we were bringing in some top guys from Italy, Manu, Filippo. We're returning all of our top center backs,
yeah,
goalkeeper. So we had a good team, and the part of that success obviously was just the team environment. I thought we were very close knit at that point. And obviously we just had such good players, so putting it all together was just one thing that we needed to do. And we had I think at that point we were playing like high pace counterattacking football. And with Filippo, I wouldn't have scored 9 goals. Without that center holding forward,
yeah,
I probably don't score those 9 goals. So I think the players around me made me such a better player that year. But yeah, that was a really fun season. I think we won 6 straight, which was like tied for Canisius's most wins in a year.
yeah.
We were like ranked top. 5 at one point and goals scored,
Yeah.
like, so it was fun, and then when you're winning games, it makes it easier to play, and create that environment, positive, good environment, in training sessions. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it was good.
It's a fun season for sure. And funny enough, like that was probably my favorite season, even though that was the season I redshirted and I didn't get to
Yeah.
play. And speaking
That was
of
your
like
freshman season, right?
that was my freshman season. That's the season I redshirted, but it was just so fun to be part of that program, right? Like going to practice was fun. I was still adjusting and struggling with confidence, but we were winning, right? And like when you're part of that winning culture and you felt like there was a good bond within the teammates,
Yeah.
it's quite fun to be around as opposed to like when you're playing, but you guys are not doing well, and just the culture and it's completely different. It was day and night, and I think one of my favorite moments that season, right, was that game against Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
In which in overtime, you score an incredible goal, right? You got the ball in our own half, right? It was like I think a corner or a free kick from them. We counter them, right? You get the ball
Yeah.
in our own half, and you take it all the way to like the end of the goal, and you chip the keeper. I remember just watching that goal, and like we are going crazy. Talk to us about that season and your thought process as you got the ball and as you attack the goal and were one on one with the keeper.
Yeah, before I jump into the goal, another thing about that season, I think the one thing that, like you said, coming to training was fun and that environment was fun to be around. I think that the competitiveness and the depth that we had in that team, it wasn't just 11-man squad that was winning those games. You know what I mean? Guys that came off the bench, the guys that redshirted like yourself at home that were cheering, like that environment of, next man up, or, it was a whole group feeling.
Yeah,
And in training sessions, it was so competitive. There was always like there was good enough players where if you're not on that day, you're out of the 11. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
shout
yeah.
out Hunter Walsh. He kept driving me every training session, breathing down my neck, making sure I was scoring goals because when I wasn't, he was. So
Yeah, he come on, he's put a goal too. It was good
yeah,
competition.
exactly. And he scored the first one in that Rutgers game. So but that Rutgers game was, yeah, arguably the best memory of my soccer career. We went up 1-0. Then Alex Frenchie got the red card with about 30 minutes to play. So they were pressuring us. We were holding on. We were holding on. They finally broke us down. I think right in around the 80th minute.
Yeah,
So they tied it 1-1. Then we defended well again for another 10 minutes. Made it through the full game to force overtime. And at this point, it's like we can freaking do this thing. Golden goal. I don't think golden goal exists anymore. So in college
they took it
soccer,
away.
I think they. Well, I know at the Division 2 level they took it away. I don't know if the
Okay,
Division 1 level it's still around, but yeah, I know Manu won the ball just pat in our half, and we were in a perfect opportunity to counter. Like they were caught out of position. It was like two center backs, me, Filippo, and I needed to beat one guy. And luckily, Manu played the perfect ball right into the stride of my right foot, and I was just striding forward. Took one touch past their center holding mid. Now it was just me, Filippo, and the center back, and at this point, I was just like, I'm just gonna run. I'm just gonna run with the ball because I think I'm faster than this guy. I take two big touches, I get by him. Um, so yeah, I picked it up right around half, dribbled all the way to about the 18-yard box, and I remember Filippo screaming for the ball because he was wide open across the goal. He was wide open across the goal, and then the keeper came storming out, and I'm like, holy
yeah,
shit, I can I could just chip it right now and win
yeah.
this game. And I just, yeah, it's what I did. I chipped the keeper, and yeah, it was like a wet, rainy, Tuesday or Wednesday night, and slid in the corner, and all the boys came and celebrated. It was the best moment of my soccer career for sure.
Unreal, dude. I remember the guys that redshirted that year, like my class, they were just back at home watching that game. The women's team might have been with us too. We were going crazy, bro. It was like,
Yeah,
'cause obviously we were doing well, then we get the red card, and we're like, crap, like we might lose this, and then we counter OT, and that
yeah,
I remember, like you got the ball, you're running, you're like, come on, Troy, and then think, and we go crazy, and
yeah.
obviously the team goes crazy. Unreal moment
And
for you, and
as a smaller Division 1 school, going into you're never expected to win these games, so the
yeah,
pressure's off you. But, anytime, a MAC team or Canisius goes into a Big Ten stadium and walks away with a golden goal winner, it feels even better, you know. And I think that was the game that we tied. So we were on a 5 game winning streak, and that 6 game that was to win the six to make it, you know, most
Wow.
consecutive wins in a row for Canisius. So yeah, it was a big moment for all of us.
Incredible, incredible. And so the next season, right, we had most of the guys returning. I think we were losing like one or two starters.
Yeah,
So we were supposed to be better, right?
yeah,
We were voted to come first in our conference. And at some point during that season, we are like, I think top 50 in the country or something, right? So
yeah,
we're well, and then we're supposed to get better. I think you and Filippo and a number of other guys were voted to be again make the first team All MAAC. And as I'm sure you can recall, that did not turn out that way.
yeah.
What do you think went wrong that season? And what is your takeaway?
Yeah, I think, you know, football moves really fast and injuries happen day in and day out, training sessions, game to game. I think since we had that returning team, like that we basically returned everyone. We set up a really tough
Schedule?
schedule for ourselves. Yeah, schedule, and we did well. Like we did somewhat well in most of those games, and I think there was a specific game where we lost 3 guys to injury in one game, and two of them being our starting center backs. Um, so at that point in the middle of the season, you know, you're changing everything. So it's who's up next in the center back positions. Okay, maybe we need to fill it with one of our center mids. Okay, so now the center mid's out. Now who we need to put in the next guy at center mid. So I don't like to use injuries as an excuse. I think it was a big impact on the season though, and especially the timing it happened, you know, right before conference play. I think we still made playoffs and then we ended up losing to Ryder, right?
No, no, we didn't make playoffs that season.
We didn't?
When the semis the season before, the next season we didn't even qualify for playoffs.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm sorry.
The next we didn't even qualify for the playoff, which was insane. I think that season, I think to your point, the injury and also like that mindset. Right? I think the freshman year, my freshman year when I redshirted, like we'd go down a goal or whatever. We all had that belief that we'd come back and we win.
Yeah,
Right? And I think maybe the game against Akron where we got smashed, maybe that
battered.
like
Yeah,
yeah that might have like impacted our confidence. And because I remember the games would be winning or it would be tied, but we don't had that mindset like we feel like we got to give up a goal. Like
yeah,
it was a completely different mindset where like we were in fear and we didn't have like you can lack confidence at an individual level but also as a team, and I felt like
yeah,
that second season the confidence was completely gone there. And obviously to your point, the injuries played a big role and that impacted us as like a small program, but I think we still had enough guys where we could have at least made the
done
playoffs and
something.
done
Yeah.
well. But the confidence part, and you combine that with games like Akron, I guess maybe talk to us about the Akron game and like
Yeah, yeah, you make a good point though, dude. Like I didn't even think of it. Like the confidence of, you know, when we lose a few guys, and it even in the and it all starts with the coaching staff. I think even from the top down, it was like it seemed like I don't want it to be harsh here, but it's like the coach almost didn't believe in it, you know, and it was hard for us to kind of get on board and think that we can do something when not even, you know, the guys that you look up to and your coaching staff aren't even believing in it. So,
yeah,
but yeah, that Akron game was a doozy. But it's crazy because we were the first half, man. We
I think we had better chance. We had the better chance that first half.
Melo hit the crossbar. Filippo, I think, hit the post. We could have went
Yeah,
up 1-0, and that game could have been completely different, you know?
yeah,
And that the first 20 minutes we've done well. Our game plan, obviously, against a team that ended up going to the national championship that year or the national
yeah,
final four was to, you know, play a low block, kind of counter them, you know,
yeah,
and we did that. We did that. We just didn't finish those 2 or 3 chances that we had in that first half. And I think the big blow was we gave up a goal in the 43rd minute and I think the 44th minute and
yeah,
then the 46th minute. So that right there, going into halftime, when you've played so well, you've done the game plan for 40 minutes, and then 5 minutes you give up 2 goals. It definitely plays a factor in mentally going into the locker room. And what probably Dermon's had a totally different speech planned for
yeah,
five
yeah,
minutes before we gave up those 2 goals. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think those kind of crushed our confidence a bit. And then when we come on, I think Frenchie went down late in the first half. He sprained his ankle. So now then we're starting to adjust players. And then at the point, 46 minute, a minute and a half into the second half, we get turned. They score a brilliant solo goal. 3-0 just like that. You know what I mean? At that point, I think we were just disorganized. We're running all over the freaking place. And it was just, there was not really that structure. I think like at the time it's on, the leaders, the captains, the coaching staff to kind of, settle things down and get that structure back. And because at that point we're like, we're not going to probably win this game. At this point it's
Exactly.
like we don't want to get battered. So let's if I was in charge though, I would have changed the structure, sat in a bit more and just defended for, and try to counter them again. But I think we were just so disorganized. We had players running all over the place, players getting pulled out of position, and we were easy to break down. And our confidence was out the window. It was from the Rutgers goal being the best moment of my life to
Yeah.
arguably the worst moment of my college career. But
Yeah.
you learn from it, and it's just you keep moving, and that's what you have to
Yeah.
do in the college game because it moves fast and you play every 3 days and it's on to the next game at that point.
Yeah. I completely agree there. And I mean, that was one of the best teams in the country that year. They had a number of guys go professional, and against those type of teams, right? The belief is so important, right? If you believe you get something out of that game, that's how you work
Yeah,
hard. That's how you continue to like stay compact and work for each other. But the minute that third goal went in, that belief was just gone,
yeah,
right? And they also like realized like sharks, right? They're like, oh, we could
yeah,
actually put up some numbers here, right? They've given up, right? We got talent, right? And it just kept getting worse and worse. But I think
yeah,
thankfully for us, we rebounded that next game. I think we played the Bonnies and we won like 4-0, which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
which is good to see, right? The talent was there, the belief was there, but it was just so inconsistent that season.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
So after that season, the next couple seasons were similar, right? Where
Hmm.
they were just team was lacking confidence, everybody was struggling, right? We went from a team that was one of the best in the league to not making the playoffs, and that was the case for the next couple years, which I'm sure made it tough for you to try to go play the next level. But did you still consider or try to go play professional soccer after college?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few factors that play into it. It's at a point I knew that I think I had an opportunity, either to go to overseas and play in a lower league, in
Yeah,
Sweden or even New Zealand. But at a point where it's like I wanted to just start my career at this point, like college soccer gave me so much, and I was pretty content like with where I was at, and especially with my knees, with the knee injury, I don't think it held me back that much from going professionally, but it did play a factor
yeah,
in making that decision. But so I didn't put too much effort into trying to
college.
go play pro after college, and I kind of just entered the job world, the corporate life, and got a job out of college, and but continued to play, still play today, but yeah, I didn't really try to go professionally after my time at Canisius. I think if the circumstances were a little bit different, that
Yeah,
junior senior year for me,
yeah,
it might have changed. It might have
yeah.
been a different outcome, but that's just how things went.
Yeah, and that's the reality of life, bro. It's like there's so many things out of your control, and a lot of times
Hmm.
those will have tremendous impact in your life and decisions you make.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just you do what you can and let the chips fall where they may. As you reflect on your college career, what would you say has been the highlight so far?
I think the highlight for me and the proudest moment for me was freshman year when I went down injured, and at that point in my career, I had no big injuries in my life,
Hmm.
and I came in to a Division 1 program where I wasn't sure if I was going to play or if I wasn't going to play,
Yeah,
and I ended up playing. Started like 4 or 5 of the first 6 games I played in my college career,
yeah,
and then 2 minutes into my sixth game, I tore my ACL. Didn't know what to do. It's like I've never been out of the game for this long.
yeah,
So I think for me that was the best moment for me. on and off the field, just the commitment level I showed to, come back and prove something that I was a good player. And so I think that was probably the proudest moment in my college career was, tearing my ACL and then coming back the next season and being one of the best players in the conference.
Yeah, I guess on that point, how did you navigate that, right? Because I'm sure there were points, right, where you might have had doubts that creep into your mind. How did you
Mhm.
navigate that, and how did you manage that successfully?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely doubts. I think one thing that kept me going was the fact that we were returning those that good of a team, the next year and the following year.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just like, I'm driven by personal goals and personal growth, and I think that's what kept me going a lot of the time. Like it's like I was in the training room and you guys were out at training every single day. I was in the training room doing work. So I think for me what kept me going was just proving to myself, proving to my teammates, and proving to Canisius, because they obviously believed in me. They brought me onto the team. So um, it was just a bunch of, trying to prove people wrong and prove to myself that I can come back from the injury and do it. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And something I want to follow up here, right? I think I alluded to this earlier, right? The importance of confidence at that level and how not having confidence could play a big role, right? I think for me, my college career was characterized by just a lack of confidence, and I never felt I could get to where I could get to, right? Was confidence an issue for you? Because I remember there was a point, I think that sophomore season, where you were like leading the country or top three in the country in scoring. And I remember
yeah,
Hunter would like joke about that or whatever. And I remember you would like almost dismiss it or didn't want to talk about it. Like, do you remember that instant? Like, was that a
yeah.
confidence thing? Like, talk to us about that season and if you ever like struggled with confidence and how you navigated that.
Yeah, I think for me, confidence wasn't the biggest issue. I think I believed in myself, on the pitch. So
Yeah,
um, I think for me, I just expected so much, and I wanted to be the best, every day. I mean, you saw me in training. I try to win every single race, win every single small sided game, whoever was on my team.
yeah,
So I don't think confidence was the biggest issue, but I do think that, when, instances like that, you kind of just have to brush off and you can't really let it affect you and just focus on what your goal is. And in that season, my goal was to, lead the conference in goals, lead the team in goals. The confidence thing wasn't the biggest issue. I think there was a point though, when there was a few changes in the team, and when I think what affects that in the confidence level is, if you could tell that your coach doesn't even believe in you, I think that has a major impact on a player's confidence. Luckily, I mean, for me, I think Derms believed in me and trusted me, and that's why he put me in the starting 11 most games.
yeah,
So I think that definitely helps with my self confidence. But it's like there's a lot of times where people don't believe in you, and it's just kind of you just gotta brush it off. I know it's hard, but you
yeah,
gotta just focus on yourself and focus on your goals, and don't worry about other people's opinions, because football is such an opinionated game, and one coach's opinion may be totally different from a coach down the road that may think you're the best player. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you just got to keep moving. It's an opinionated game, but you just got to focus on yourself. And yeah.
No, I really like and appreciate that answer because at the time I was weird, right? And it makes sense now, right? Like brushing that aside, even though Hunter was joking and it was joking in a nice way, right? It was
Mhm.
reflecting good on you that you were leading and one of the top scorers in the country, but to like want to focus on the inputs, right? And like don't worry about the output. Like if you control
Mhm.
inputs, what you put into the process, the rest will take care of themselves. You can't really control other things, right? So
Yeah.
I like that mindset. What would you say has been the low light of your soccer career so far?
Worst moment of my career was, I think, at one point senior year. We lost, I think, against St. Peter's. We were up 3-1. We ended up losing 4-3 in the last 10 minutes of the game. And at that point, it kind of disqualified us from playoffs. And as a senior, it's like it was hard to stay committed to the team when you got 3 games left and you're out of the playoffs. I think it was kind of weak of me, for the last few games. I put everything into those last few games, but it was
Okay.
weak of me not to travel to Marist in my last collegiate game. I thought,
Yeah.
I think that was a weak mentality of myself, and I look back at that as one of the moments where I kind of regret. not just going out and playing my last game
Yeah.
of my college season, even though it was traveling 7 8 hours. It was just I don't know. I think that was weak of me not to go.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think it's good that you've had that reflection and realize something. But I think at the time also like the disappointment of losing. I'm not trying to justify, but I guess I could, from your point of view, imagine like the disappointment of losing and there not really being any reason, right? Like there's outside of like being there for your team and finishing out your college career. Realistically, there was really no other reason outside of that. But I'm happy you've had that reflection and something that you could look to, like maybe wish you had done differently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What advice do you have for young soccer players, those at the middle school, high school level that want to go play at the college level or beyond? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think first of all, enjoy it. Enjoy the journey of trying to become a college athlete, a college soccer player. Work your butt off. Outside of trainings, you only get at the club level, what you get 2 3 training sessions a day. It's not going to be enough. You need to do extra work on your own. Find a brick wall, hit the ball against the wall for an hour. Work on your first touch. Go to If you're a striker, go to the local high school, local park. Get an extra 50 shots in. Finishing drills, whatever it may be. Putting in that extra work will take you a long way. Um, so I think mainly just work your butt off, and when it comes to making mistakes, move on from it. You know, Everyone's going to make mistakes. You're going to make a million mistakes on the soccer field, off the field in your life. So it's how you rebound and what you do next. And yeah, just enjoy it, have fun because it goes fast.
Absolutely agree. Thanks for that advice. We're going to move on to the next segment of this podcast, which I call the rapid fire segment. I asked a lot of my guests these similar type questions. The first question for you: best player you ever played against?
Best player I ever played against. I would say I can't actually recall his name, but
Yeah.
it was I was playing USL 2 down south, and a lot of the Wake Forest, Clemson guys were all within my conference, and it was a Brazilian number 10 that played for Wake Forest. Um, he was arguably the best player I've ever played against, easily, hands down. Was just so good on the ball, just created so many chances. I think he scored against us. He was excellent player.
I think I know who you're talking about. I had a friend that went to Wake Forest, so I used to watch some of their games, and I think I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't remember his name,
Yeah.
but I know exactly who you're talking about. On the flip side, best player you ever played with.
Played with. I'll have to go Filippo Tamburini or Melvin Blair in his prime.
Who's winning the Prem this year?
Arsenal for sure.
You truly believe that?
I believe that Arsenal is going to win the league. Yes. I do like. I see your Liverpool flag and your Liverpool scarf. I do think because I don't want to say City. You don't want to say City. I would say Arsenal, and I do think Liverpool has a chance.
Okay, let's hope, man. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Your hot soccer take.
Hot soccer take. All right. Emil Smith Rowe will win the Ballon d'Or.
Ah.
All right, no, I got a hot.
It's a very hot soccer take.
Uh, no, uh,
Wait, do you think you could do it at Fulham though, or do you think it's gonna go back to a bigger club?
no, he'd have to go to a bigger club. He'd have to come back to Arsenal or go to like a City.
Okay,
But
that's good.
no, that was a super hot take. I'd say no hot take. Messi over Ronaldo.
That's good. I guess yeah. I guess that could be hot, but
Eh,
I think if you watch enough soccer, like you wouldn't be hot, right? Like I usually grow up
yeah,
as a Ronaldo fan, but I think as you get older and you again, you lie to yourself if you
cut
choose.
that. Go with Emil Smith Rowe.
Okay, respect it. I respect it.
Yeah.
For those that want to continue to watch your journey and your story, where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coaching now. I'm a grad assistant at American International College, so we play in the NE10. So now I made the transition to playing competitively. Now I'm coaching. So if you want to follow the coaching journey, follow along AIC men's soccer.
Nice. Thanks for getting on this podcast. Really enjoy this conversation. Really enjoy getting catch up and reminisce on some of the great experiences we had at Canisius. Thanks for your time, and I'm sure this is gonna be super helpful for a lot of our viewers.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, dude.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen and support this podcast. It is very much appreciated. Please follow the show if you don't already do so. The show can be found on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and the rest of the other major platforms. As always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Much love. This show is produced by Yak Awok and original music by Scott Holmes.